Our guest tonight is George Barnes. He is a participant in the Paul Revere Film Contest. Now, definitely want to inform everybody that contest has ended as far as the submission, but we're still reviewing the submissions that we've gotten in the proper format and in the proper time of the regulations. Now, I want to caution everybody that we have not selected any finalists from the Paul Revere contest. This is just one of the standout entries that we got. So without any further ado, let's go to our contestant tonight, Mr. George Barnes. All right, thanks for joining us, George.
Hi, thank you.
All right, now, George, tell us, first of all, how did you hear about the Paul Revere contest and what prompted you to make a video about this topic?
Well, what prompted me to make a video about the topic was I came across the topic by accident. I am a professional photographer. That's what I do. And I was testing some time-lapse equipment, and when I made a mistake in processing the footage. At the end of the day, I was just testing the camera, shooting the sky. So when I played the footage backwards, I saw that the entire overcast sky, when played backwards, was in fact being created by military jets flying in a grid pattern over my house. So that was pretty troubling. And like I say, I'm a commercial photographer, and we have a news producer, so I asked her to look into it, and almost instantly the geoengineering topic came up. So it was really troubling. I spent the next several months researching the topic and doing some science, because I wasn't understanding like the and I just wanted to get more science-based, because I'm a factual science-based guy just in general. So
that's the way to be, especially with a topic that can be very controversial, as you explored in your film. And that's probably why I want to go first off. We hear the term chemtrail, we hear the term contrail, and you've also had another term that you had in your videos called stratospheric aerosols. Is that correct, sir?
Stratospheric aerosols is what they are. Chemtrails is really, it's a slang word. It's just kind of a generic expression, but when you actually dive into the literature and the research, you see that persistent contrails is in all the government literature and all the science literature. Stratospheric aerosol spraying, climate management, solar radiation management, geoengineering. These are all phrases and programs that are, supposedly experimental. But of course, everybody knows when you're experimenting, you actually have to do something to experiment. So that's what kept coming up, was the geoengineering, the factual side of the science, what creates persistent contrails. And that was the road that I went down, because that was what was really interesting. What's the variation between a regular contrail and a persistent contrail? And everything that I came up with all linked back to climate change. The administration's always discussing climate change, climate change, climate change. And geoengineering creates climate change.
Well, let's talk about climate change for 1 second, because that's
Sure.
a very controversial topic within itself. Aside from the chemtrails or whatever you may phrase them, people say, well, you can't modify the weather. If we can go back to that document, Cam, I know you can't see them on your end, George, but we have a few documents here. This is from BBC News. This is July of 2012. Why won't the UK make the sun shine for the Olympics? Make the sun shine. I'll move on here to another one. USA Today, rain out. China aims to control Olympics weather. That talks about some cloud seeding as well. LA Times, China plans to halt rain for the Olympics. So these are some publications that people view as being very credible. I've had my issues with them in the past, but let's just say this is a good, credible information here. So that just goes on to show that there is weather modification.
Yeah, well, there definitely is weather modification. It's in the scientific literature. If you look at, there's huge debates about the governance of geoengineering. I mean, it's a real program. Weather modification is, in fact, a program. There's some companies, there's a company, Weather Modification Inc. in the United States. That's what they do, weather modification. So it's not a question of whether or not we have the capacity to change the climate. The fact is that persistent contrails, whether they're chemically enhanced or otherwise, do change the weather. So the climate change is human caused. So the geoengineering is just an enhanced method to block out the sun, to there's all types of conspiracies as to why they're doing that. And it's really a shame that the administration's not just coming out and educating the public as to what they are trying to do, but the visual evidence that we've seen since I started this project has just been overwhelming. There is no doubt in my mind that it's taking place. And
all somebody has to do is go outside and look outside and ask their grandparents, hey, grandma, grandpa, did it look like this when you were a kid? Was the sky that dark? The estimates I heard was the Earth is now 20% darker than what it was in years previous.
That is correct. And, you know, you bring up an interesting point. If you look on the homepage, the thumbnail of that school, that Roosevelt Elementary School with the trails coming off it, do you see that? That's what the thumbnail of the video is. Take that school, for example. I went to that elementary school. My daughters went to that elementary school. My father went to that elementary school. My grandfather built that elementary school. Those are new. Those lines in the sky, that path, that flight path, that's coming out of the military Air Force base there. At I think it's the National Guard base, Stewart in Stewart. What's it called? Stewart.
What city is that? What city is that?
It's right outside of Newburgh, New York. That's where the Air Force base is.
Right.
That school is in River Edge, New Jersey.
Okay.
And what's funny is if you turned around 180 degrees, you get the flight path of Newark Airport. Now, on that particular day, which was, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, I could see these planes coming out of the military base. And when I turned around, there was not one trail coming out of Newark Airport. Now, I mean, Newark Airport, the flights are every, 90 seconds?
Right.
And there's no trails out of that. So it's just the visual evidence that it's occurring is just overwhelming. It's not atmospheric. You know, I've got pictures that I see planes creating these condensation trails and other planes not creating the condensation trails, actually flying through. So how can one plane be making it and another plane not?
And you pointed that out in your video, and I'm very glad you brought up that point, because I don't know if we can scroll to it in time, but if you're a viewer, you can go and watch his video. And in the video, just like I said, he has the contrails up in the sky, chemtrails, whatever you want to call them, and a plane flies through and leaves a clear path of where the plane flew. Now, from your experience and your research, when a plane flies through a normal cloud, does it leave that kind of a trail?
No, it doesn't. And if it does, it's for a second. It's more of a wash if it's flying through a normal trail.
Right.
But these planes went through, and the trails were there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's just not. It's just not a. It's not a real cloud. I don't know what else to say. It's an artificial cloud. Yeah, we are creating artificial cloud cover. There's no question in my mind. Exactly.
Just like I said, all you have to do is go outside and take a look. We're here in the city of Austin, and I was driving downtown yesterday to cover a report, and I looked out, you know, the cityscape, all the skyscrapers out there, and I was like, oh, the sky just looks dirty. You know, it's like these contrails in the city of Austin where they trail pretty heavy. Yep. One of the things I was told when I came to Austin was, you know, if you don't have allergies, you'll probably get them pretty soon. I was like, well, why does everybody have allergies in Austin? I'm not saying it's just this one particular thing, but heavy chemtrailing within the city of Austin, Texas.
Heavy. And, you know, since I launched this app, I'm getting an amazing amount of people from Texas and also Indiana and Illinois, which I was not expecting at all, but I'm getting an overwhelming response from those states. So, you know, it's new. People are seeing it, and they're, you know, it's not something that was always there. It's not a natural phenomenon. I mean, it can occur naturally in very, very specific climate situations, super saturated, very cold, high altitude. But what's happening, if you look back in the literature, is all of these chemical additives are changing the ice nucleation point. It's changing the point that it can create the clouds. So it's enhancing the manufacturing of clouds, which is, you know, horrifying. You're going to block out the sun? That's terrible.
Yeah, it's just like, what's that movie, The Matrix, the first Matrix movie? It's getting a little sci-fi, but they black out the sky to kill the robots, because I guess at the time in The Matrix, the robots were solar powered. So that brings me to another point. Why do you think they're doing this? From your research, why do you think they would go out and purposely spray these aerosols into the air?
The research seems to indicate that they're trying to deflect the sunlight to combat global warming, and actually combat, really, if you really dig into the research, it looks like it's to combat the CO2 dumps and the CO2 emissions from aviation, because the aviation industry, as I've learned, is now taking exactly the wrong things, the most dangerous parts of carbon, and putting them in precisely the worst place in the atmosphere and in the stratosphere. So the objective is spraying these artificial clouds beyond that, theoretically, to prevent the warming, the sun's rays, the light's rays coming through.
So they kind of bounce off, the sun rays bounce off this reflective material.
That's what the theory is. That's the theory behind geoengineering, and that's what John Holdren speaks about. That's in our film. He's got that clip, and he talks about it. The multiple problems are: A, the chemical components are toxic, and they do only stay in the sky for so long. The patents have them as up to 1 year. Up to means, you know, whatever. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. And the other problem is, the evidence is showing the more they're doing it, the warmer the planet's getting, specifically at night. So when the sun comes out in the morning, they start to spray, the heat comes in for the day, the sunlights come down through this through the artificial clouds, and they can't escape. The planet can't cool at night. And if you noticed, it's really interesting. If you notice, the cool nights are now fewer and fewer and further in between. It's not a huge difference, a couple degrees, but the nights are no longer cooling off. And a lot of the science points to the fact that we are, in fact, trapping the warming and not allowing it to outgas into outer space and allowing the planet to cool out.
Now from the spread. No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, just from this artificial cloud cover that's being created.
Now, you touched on this a little bit earlier when I said we have heavy chemtrails here in Texas. Are there any particular locations where this seems to be done more often, not just here in the U.S., is it done worldwide?
You know, I have to tell you, the Paul Revere contest was really my motivating force to create this film and to actually finish it and make it into a film, rather than just a series of segments and a research project. That was just a personal research project of mine, because I'm, exceptionally concerned about the issue. So beyond that, making the mobile app to actually document where it's going on has only been out. I mean, the global version's only been out for 2 days. So I don't really know. I don't have enough data yet, but it's coming in. We're getting 500-600 people a day from around the world sending things in now.
All right, and you mentioned your app, so tell us a little bit about that. It's called the Skyder Alert.
Skyder Alert. Okay, the app is a breakthrough tool for any type of activism. What I had thought about is, okay, so you make a documentary, you make a fantastic documentary. Now what? You educate the people. That's great. It's a great start. But when it comes to what can the people actually do about it, it's pretty limited. I mean, you can call your legislator, you can try and find who they are or where they are, but as we know, that's complicated too, especially if you're not in your hometown. I mean, how many times you go into, or whatever, you go to a vacation in Kansas, you don't know who the governing people are there, but they are responsible for your safety. They have that responsibility. So what the app enables you to do is, when you see the geoengineering taking place in the sky, or even the persistent contrails, or whatever you'd like to call it, chemtrails, whatever, you take a picture of it, and the app auto-populates the appropriate legislators, the representative from the U.S. House, the two senators, the governor, and a couple other media contacts that are reporting on the same issue in that area, wherever you are.
That's a very useful tool.
It's a very useful tool, and what I'm seeing is it can be utilized for any type initiative. When you see some other type of environmental dumping happening, who would you call? How would you know who to contact? Child abuse. I mean, any type. Beyond
anything way beyond spraying in the skies. I know that's what your app is set up for, but it can be a very useful tool. I see report a bank theft. Hey, I just saw Ben Bernanke here saying he wants to take some more of our money away. But we're about out of time. George, can you give us your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts, yes. My closing thoughts, the administration is going to push the climate change agenda. They're going to talk about it more and more, and it's important that people understand geoengineering and the realities of it. And we just need more transparency from the government because it's a very, very dangerous project. When you block the sun, there are a host of other side effects, and the app hopefully will bring awareness to the entire world about this geoengineering issue. And it's nice to have it tied back into the film, and it's great to be tied back into your film contest, because I think your contest is awesome. I think it's great.
Thank you, sir. Can you tell us the name of your video on YouTube?
Yeah, the video is called Look Up. Really simple. Look Up, Operation Paul Revere is the title, but it's just because we want people to look up. And the app is called Skyder Alert, all one word. And that's it. When you send it, you are, in fact, sending a Skyder Alert. And a petition and the evidence goes directly to the government.
If nothing else, I think it'd be good to make people address the issue. You have so many people who don't want to address it. They don't want to be seen as kooky or whatever the situation may be, and now they actually have to address it.
Right, they have to address it. And, you know, and I don't know where that number is as far as, like, people bringing it up. Is it 5,000 people? 50,000 people, 5 million people, but there's no doubt in my mind that there is a number of people. When we have a certain number, we will get attention from the administration, and they're just going to have to come clean on the program. And it's a military program, very, very scary program. I mean, it's terrifying. And
I saw it wasn't on your piece, but it was one of the chemtrail videos I had a chance to watch, and it was a meteorologist, and he said he used to be in the military, and he said, you know, when I was in the military, they ran drills like this where they dumped chaff up into the sky.
I saw that too.
And it's, you know, it very much concerns me, like you pointed out in your film, what happens when this stuff hits the ground. You show that water, you know, that dirty water. And also, we didn't even touch on this, but Monsanto has aluminum resistant seeds, and it's come out that a lot of these condensation chemtrails, whatever you want to call them, have aluminum in them. So, you know, you have the problem action solution where Monsanto is already ready for these aerosols to hit the ground.
That's correct. And, you know, the key ingredient is aluminum. They talk about it. It's in the patents. And it's funny. I did a toxicology test on my hair. And I'm aluminum toxic. I have 2 girls. They're high in aluminum. They're high in lead. They're high in mercury. They're high in strontium. It's all the same ingredients that are in the patents. And that's really troubling. You know, that foam, did you see the pictures of the foam?
Oh, yeah.
In the video?
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's in watersheds. I was filming at watersheds.
Really?
I was upstate New York. Yeah. That was at when you see that shot of the Delaware intake. Mm-hmm. I just turned the camera 180 degrees and clicked off the sign so I know where I was. Wow. I was at that is the main water feed for the city of New York. And it's funny, you know, when people say, well, it's just from the road or whatever. The problem was the stuff was on the car.
Right.
It was on me. You know, I actually had a motorcycle on the back of the car. It was on the motorcycle seat. So it's not. That's
really disgusting. You know, I never really thought about that until I watched your video, because we always think about, you know, this stuff affecting the soils and stuff. But, you know, outdoor water supply, it falls into your water.
It falls into the water, you know, and in the Vermont watershed, where I saw that foam going, I actually have pictures of it going down, washing down the street into the catch basin that goes into the reservoir. It's going directly into the reservoir. And if these are nanoparticles, which is what all the evidence and all the documents seem to say, it's all nanoparticulate matter, which means it's very, very, very small. Like I believe it's 10 microns, which is a hundredth of the thickness of a piece of hair. You can't really filter it.
Wow. Yeah. So, George, tell us one more time where we can access that app.
The app is on iTunes for Apple, and it's on Google Play for Android.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for joining us, George.
Excellent. Thanks. And you got my number. You can call me anytime. It's developing. We're getting tremendous. It's gone hyper viral. You know, I invented the word Skyder Alert 2 weeks ago. We're on 9,000 websites according to Google today. So awesome. Well, it's really catching on.
All right, we take care, George. We got to get on and shoot the news, but definitely excited about your app and your video, and you did great work.
Fantastic. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Another great contestant from Operation Paul Revere, which was exactly what Alex was trying to do. He wanted to get people out there to go out and make films, even if you don't win the contest. It's great that you got this information out there, and I would like to stress we have not selected a winner or even finalist, so don't fret. if we haven't called you yet, and you may just end up here on the InfoWars Nightly News talking about your project on the air. Now, if you'd like to learn more about chemtrails, contrails, aerosols in the air, whatever you want to call them, we have these two films right here. Why in the world are they spraying, and what in the world are they spraying? They're both available in the InfoWars store. You can see them right here, two great films. If we can put up that graphic right there, yeah, you can see them right there on your store. The Chemtrails Combo Pack, and you can get that for $34.90. Two great films to show your friends and family. So that's it for this edition of the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson, and we'll see you tomorrow night.